All right, welcome in everyone to our deep dive on the 2024 housing market. It's a topic on everyone's mind these days, right? You're thinking about buying a home, but who isn't talking about those interest rates right now?
You're absolutely right. It's the big question mark hanging over everything.
It feels like everyone's waiting for the perfect moment to either jump in or back out, like a giant game of real estate chicken.
It does, doesn't it? So much uncertainty.
Exactly. But we're here to help you decode it all, at least as much as we can.
That's the goal. We've got some great research and forecasts to dig into.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to have our expert here who I know has been poring over all of this information.
I have, yeah. And it's fascinating, really. It highlights how much confusion there is out there right now. One of the sources, actually, uses the word flux to describe the market. A perfect way to sum things up, don't you think?
Flux definitely captures the feeling, that's for sure. It's not just the usual market ups and downs, It feels way less predictable this time.
Right. And a big reason for that unpredictable feeling, like we were just saying, is those high mortgage rates.
They're impossible to ignore.
Yeah. And you sent over a great article from meetsean.net written by Realtor Sean Carter that really breaks this down.
Oh yeah, that one was really insightful.
He points to a few things. Inflation, for one, then the Federal Reserve's response to that inflation, and then just general economic jitters. All those combined are the main culprits behind these crazy rates.
Okay, so it's not just one thing, it's like a perfect storm. But how exactly does, say, the price of groceries affect my chances of getting a decent mortgage rate?
Well, it's all connected, right? And it goes back to how the Federal Reserve, or the Fed, tries to control inflation.
Right, the Fed. Everyone's talking about the Fed.
Exactly. When prices rise quickly, like we've seen with, well, everything lately, they raise interest rates to try and slow spending down. The idea is to sort of cool things off.
Makes sense.
But the catch is that raising those rates makes borrowing money more expensive, including the loans people need to buy homes.
So it's like a domino effect. Inflation goes up, the Fed makes borrowing more expensive, and suddenly, even if I can afford a house, I'm paying way more in interest. And that's on top of the higher prices of everything else.
Right, got it. And then you add in things like, well, potential job losses, right? Or those global economic hiccups everyone keeps talking about. And suddenly, lenders get really cautious about giving out mortgages. So high rates plus hesitant lenders, well, that equals a pretty tough market for buyers.
Yeah, I can see how that creates a bit of stalemate. And Carter's article even mentions that it's affecting both sides, right? Not just buyers. So potential buyers are nervous, obviously, but then current homeowners who locked in those super low rates a while back, they're hesitant to sell and face a much higher rate if they buy again.
You're describing it perfectly. It's a total standoff.
They stalemate, yeah.
But there's a little bit of hope. Carter also suggests, and this is interesting, that there are some things that could actually entice buyers back into the market.
Oh, now that's what I want to hear. What could possibly shift things in a buyer's favor?
He points to the possibility of mortgage rates stabilizing.
Stabilizing.
Or, get this, even going down.
You're kidding, right? Rates going down.
It's not a guarantee, of course.
Right.
But he thinks it's possible. It might not be a huge drop, but even a slight decrease could be enough to get things moving again.
Okay, so what could possibly make rates stabilize or even drop? Are we all just at the mercy of the Fed?
The Fed's a big factor, absolutely. If they see inflation cooling off, they might, and I emphasize might, ease up on those rate hikes, which could then have a ripple effect and lower mortgage rates.
So fingers crossed inflation chills out soon.
Right. It's all connected. But there are other factors, too. It's not just the Fed.
What else? What else could influence rates?
Well, if the economy stabilizes, think steady job market and less dramatic price increases, lenders might relax a little and be more willing to offer better rates.
Okay, so stability is key here. A calmer economy.
Calmer, yeah. Less uncertainty. And Carter also points out the potential for what he calls lender incentives.
Lender incentives, interesting. What are those exactly?
Things like special discounts, or maybe temporary rate reductions that could make homeownership more appealing. It's like a sale on a house, essentially.
That does sound promising, makes it a little less scary. But, and I have to ask this, are these sure things? Are we banking on all of this happening?
Unfortunately, predicting the future of the housing market is about as reliable as predicting the weather.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
We can look at trends and historical data, of course, but there are no guarantees. Carter's article offers possibilities, not promises.
That's a good reminder to take everything with a grain of salt and, do my own research.
Absolutely. Always a good idea to dig in yourself.
But speaking of things that could change the market, Carter also talks about something else. Inventory growth. And price adjustments. What does he mean by that?
So his thinking is that if the market keeps slowing down, sellers might have to adjust those asking prices to get their homes sold.
So it's that classic supply and demand thing.
Exactly. More homes on the market plus fewer buyers. Well, that could lead to some price drops.
Okay, so this flux, this uncertainty, could actually create opportunities for buyers willing to wait it out.
It's possible. A slower market might mean lower prices, which is obviously great, but it's a gamble. If rates stabilize and suddenly everyone decides to buy, well, that increased competition could mean ending up in a bidding war and paying even more.
It's a tough call then. It's like a real estate game of chicken. Wait too long and you might miss out. Jump in too soon and you might overpay.
It's a tricky balance for sure.
But Carter also mentioned some other options, right?
Hmm.
Other ways to navigate this high-rate environment.
He does, and those are definitely worth exploring. But I think we should save those for our next segment.
A little cliffhanger. All right, sounds good. We'll be back after the break to talk about those. Okay, so we've talked about all these forces at play in this market, but what about some concrete strategies for actually dealing with them? I'm especially curious about those alternative paths to homeownership Carter mentioned. Those sounded interesting.
Yeah, he had some good insights there. One that stands out, especially in a high-rate environment like we're in right now, is the adjustable rate mortgage.
Oh, okay. ARMs. I'll be honest, those have always seemed a bit, I don't know, a bit like a financial black box to me. What's the real deal with them? Are they as risky as they sound?
They're not as complicated as people think, but you're right, there's some nuance to them. Basically, with an ARM, your interest rate isn't fixed for the entire life of the loan, unlike a traditional mortgage. It starts lower than a fixed-rate mortgage, but it can change over time.
So lower payments up front, which is tempting, but the risk that those payments could, jump later on.
Yeah.
Is it ever a good idea? When does that make sense?
It can be, yeah. But it depends, like you said, on your individual situation. If you're not planning to stay in a home for decades, for example, an ARM could let you take advantage of those initial low rates and build some equity before you move.
I see. So shorter-term homeowners might benefit.
Potentially, yeah. Or another scenario, if you're pretty confident your income will grow and you'll be able to handle higher payments later on, it might be a calculated risk worth taking.
Okay, so it's all about weighing those potential future changes.
It is. And, of course, your risk tolerance.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. But for someone who really values stability and predictability, maybe an ARM isn't the best fit.
You're exactly right. It all comes down to personal preference and how much risk you're comfortable with. It's also crucial to remember, though, that not all ARMs are created equal. Some have caps on how much the rate can increase, which can offer some protection. Others have fixed rate periods, say for the first 5 or 7 years, before the adjustments even start.
Okay. So there are safeguards built in. It's not just a free-for-all.
No, not at all. And that's why it's so important to understand the specifics of each ARM. There's a whole menu of them to choose from, essentially.
So how do you even begin to figure out which one, if any, is right for you?
Well, this is where working with a knowledgeable mortgage lender is absolutely key.
That human element again.
It's so crucial. They can walk you through the different options, explain the fine print, and help you choose an ARM that aligns with your financial goals and risk appetite. Or they might even steer you towards a fixed rate option if that's a better fit overall.
Okay, so having a trusted expert in my corner is essential, whether I'm going the traditional route or exploring these alternative paths. Makes sense. But stepping back for a moment, I think it's easy to get so caught up in the mechanics of mortgages and lose sight of the bigger picture,
Didn't Carter also emphasize the long-term investment aspect of homeownership?
He did, yeah.
Huh.
Even in a high-rate environment like we're seeing now, he still believes buying a home can be a smart financial move over the long term. But with rates so high right now, is that really true? Does that still hold up?
Well, let's think about it this way. When you buy a home, you're gradually building equity. And that equity is the portion of your home that you actually own outright.
Right. Equity. I've heard people talk about that, but it always seemed like a vague concept to me.
Yeah, it can be a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
But think of it like this. It's like a forced savings plan where with each mortgage payment, you own a bigger piece of a valuable asset.
Oh, okay. I'm starting to see it. So even if those initial mortgage payments are a bit higher due to interest rates, I'm still making progress toward owning something valuable.
Exactly. You're chipping away at a debt while also building wealth at the same time. And don't forget, we talked about the potential for refinancing earlier.
Right, all right. It
Right.
could come into play.
So if rates do drop later on, you can refinance your mortgage to snag a lower rate, potentially decreasing your monthly payments and further accelerating your equity building.
So even with high rates now, there's still hope for a better situation down the line. It's like playing the long game, adjusting my strategy as things change.
That's a great way to put it. But of course, it's not just about the numbers, right?
There's more to it than that.
Absolutely. Owning a home also brings those non-financial benefits that are hard to quantify. The pride of ownership, for one.
That feeling of, I did this.
Exactly. And then the freedom to customize your space, right? Make it truly yours. And that feeling of putting down roots, becoming part of a community, those are all powerful things.
Things you don't get with renting.
Right. So there's an emotional element to this, too. It's not just a spreadsheet calculation.
But let's be honest, some people out there might be thinking, why bother with all this mortgage stress? Renting seems way simpler.
And for some people, renting absolutely is the better choice. There's no question about it. Renting gives you flexibility, right? You can move more easily, and you don't have to deal with all the responsibilities of homeownership, like maintenance and repairs.
That's a good point. It's less hands-on.
It can be a great option for those who prioritize mobility or maybe just aren't ready to commit to the long-term financial obligations of owning a home.
So it really comes down to personal preference and circumstances.
Right.
There's no one right answer.
It's a personal decision, absolutely. When you weigh buying versus renting, there's no right or wrong, just what aligns with your individual circumstances, your financial goals, and your lifestyle preferences.
And that's why having that expert in your corner, a real estate agent who really understands your needs, is so crucial, like Carter emphasized. They can help you navigate all those options, whether you're leaning towards buying or renting.
Couldn't agree more. They can provide personalized advice, insights into local market trends, and help you make informed decisions that align with your specific goals. They're invaluable.
Okay, I'm feeling a bit more empowered now, I have to say. But let's be real. There's still a lot of uncertainty in this market, right? We talked about that flux earlier. Is there any way to make sense of it all and feel a little less overwhelmed?
It's natural to feel overwhelmed, especially with those unpredictable mortgage rates at the heart of everything. Remember, they're influenced by a bunch of interconnected factors. Inflation, what the Fed does, even events happening globally.
It's like trying to solve a massive puzzle where each piece affects all the others.
That's a great analogy. And just like with a complex puzzle, you don't try to force the pieces together.
Where you have to be patient.
Exactly. You take your time, you look for patterns, and gradually make sense of the bigger picture.
So how do we apply that to this flux we're facing in the housing market? What does that patience look like in practice?
I think instead of getting caught up in those day-to-day fluctuations or trying to perfectly time the market, which is impossible, by the way, focus on the things you can control.
Like what? What are some of those things?
Well, staying informed is a big one. Then understanding the pros and cons of your options, right? And building a team of trusted professionals to guide you. Those are all things within your control.
Okay, that's a much more manageable approach. Focus on what you can control. But are there any specific things I should be looking out for? Any signs, any trends that could point me in the right direction, like a compass in this crazy market?
There are, and I think those are worth diving into. Let's talk about those next. We'll explore some of those emerging trends and how those might influence your decisions.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. Rates, different types of financing, the whole buying versus renting dilemma. It's a lot to think about. But what about the bigger picture? I mean, what's happening in the housing market beyond those immediate factors we've been discussing? Are there any trends out there that can give us a clue about where things might be headed?
That's a great question. And you're right. It's easy to get lost in the weeds. Looking at emerging trends can be super helpful. It's like, they can give us a sense of where things might be heading, which is really valuable in a market that feels as, as unpredictable as this one.
Okay, so trend spotting time. What are you seeing out there? What's catching your eye?
Well, one of the biggest trends, and this is directly tied to some of the stuff you sent over, is the rise of remote work.
Oh, yeah. That's not going away anytime soon.
Right. And it's really reshaping how people think about, location, right, and the kind of home they need and want.
I can see that. Like, if I can work from anywhere, suddenly those big city prices don't seem so appealing anymore. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And we're seeing this play out. More and more people are choosing suburban or even rural areas, places where they can get, more space for their money, maybe a yard, that sort of thing, and maybe even a better quality of life overall.
So it's like that old saying, location, location, location. It's almost like it's evolving, right?
It is. Location still matters, of course, but the definition of a good location is definitely changing. And this shift is actually driving other trends too.
Like
Yeah.
what? What else are you seeing?
Well, we're seeing people wanting bigger homes, for one.
Yeah.
Homes with a dedicated office space, And outdoor areas are huge now, like a patio or a deck for relaxing and, I guess, escaping the work from home grind. It's all about features that support that blend of work and life that so many people are navigating these days.
It's like the home is becoming this multifunctional space, adapting to all our changing needs. We're working, living, exercising, all in the same place.
You got it. And along with the functionality, there's this growing focus on sustainability.
Oh, that's interesting.
People want homes that are energy efficient, environmentally friendly, and, well, less expensive to run. I mean, energy costs are through the roof, right?
That's for sure.
So things like solar panels, better insulation, those energy-saving appliances, it's like they're becoming must-haves for a lot of buyers now.
So it's not just about doing good for the planet. It's also about making a smart financial decision.
Absolutely. Those features can actually boost a home's value, too, so it's a win-win.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? Any other trends we should have on our radar?
Well, technology is playing a bigger and bigger role, that's for sure. I mean, virtual tours are everywhere now, right? It's pretty amazing.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
It's crazy how realistic they can be. But are people actually using them to, like, really shop for homes?
Oh, yeah. They're not just a gimmick. They're changing how people shop. Virtual tours, they save time, they offer more flexibility, and they make it way easier for buyers to, narrow down their options before they even commit to an in-person viewing. And we're even seeing technology streamline the whole mortgage process, with online applications and digital document signing becoming the norm. It's all about making things faster and, I think, less intimidating for people.
It sounds like technology is definitely making the process, well, easier for everyone involved,
Yeah.
both buyers and sellers.
It is. And that trend's only going to accelerate, In the next few years, I think technology is going to be even more deeply integrated into the whole real estate experience. But even with all these amazing innovations, one thing's still super important, something we keep coming back to.
You're talking about working with an actual human being, a real estate agent. Why is that still so crucial, even with all this tech at our fingertips? It seems like we should be able to do it all ourselves now.
Well, here's the thing. Technology can give you information, it can give you tools, but it can't replace the expertise and, the personalized guidance of a skilled real estate agent. A good agent, they can help you interpret those market trends we were talking about. They can help you understand those complex contracts that come with buying or selling a home. They can help you negotiate effectively and, ultimately just make informed decisions that are right for you, that align with your goals.
Well, it's like having a real estate Sherpa.
Right.
Someone who knows the terrain and can guide you through all the ups and downs.
I love that analogy. That's exactly it. They can be your advocate, your advisor, your sounding board throughout the entire process. And trust me, that's an invaluable resource, especially in a market as, well, as dynamic and as unpredictable as this one.
It's a good reminder that even with all the data and the trends and the forecasts, buying or selling a home, it's still a very human process. There's emotion involved, there are individual circumstances, and that's where having a real person in your corner makes a huge difference.
100% agree. And that brings us back to where we started, really. The importance of careful planning, making informed decisions, and building that support system that can help you navigate this whole complex landscape.
So after all this, what would you say is the ultimate takeaway for our listeners today? What should they be thinking about as they go through this process, as they make these big decisions?
Well, the 2024 housing market, it's a puzzle, right? A puzzle with a lot of moving pieces. And it's easy to get overwhelmed by those interest rate fluctuations, by all the emerging trends, by all the, sometimes conflicting information out there. But here's the thing. It's not about predicting the future perfectly. Nobody can do that. It's about being prepared for different possibilities, understanding your own priorities, what's important to you, and having the right resources, those trusted people in your corner, to guide you.
So take a deep breath, focus on the things you can control, and trust the journey.
Beautifully said. And remember, if you're feeling lost or unsure, don't hesitate to reach out to those professionals, the real estate agents, the mortgage lenders, the financial advisors, anyone who can provide that personalized support and help you make the best choices for your unique situation.
That's great advice. And that's a wrap for us today. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. Interest rates, all those trends, different strategies for navigating the market, and even those emotional aspects of home ownership, which are so important.
Yeah, we really did. We've explored the challenges, we've explored the opportunities that this market presents, and hopefully we've equipped you with the knowledge and insights you need to approach it all with more confidence.
Absolutely. And hopefully you're walking away from this feeling a little bit more informed and a little bit more empowered to make those big real estate decisions.
And whether you decide to buy now, wait a bit, or explore those alternative paths we talked about, just remember that the journey of homeownership, it's a personal one. There's no right or wrong answer.
So trust your instincts, do your research, and embrace the adventure. It can be a wild ride.
Well said. And may you find a place that truly feels like home.
That's the goal, isn't it? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the 2024 housing market. Until next time, happy house hunting, everyone.